Hi, my name is Kola Aina. I'm the founder of Ventures Platform. We're a seed stage fund and an accelerator that's focused on supporting early stage founders in Africa.
Welcome to the African Tech Roundup.
It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Now, how does it feel to be an investor? It puts you in a unique sort of space in terms of like potential for value creation as far as the rest of the players within our ecosystem is concerned. And what sort of pressures does it come with, I guess, is what I'm asking. What are the perks, maybe?
Well, I guess for one, it feels privileged because you realize that you're in a position where you can be a part of the story of so many people and sort of live several lives at the same time. But it's also there's a great sense of responsibility because when founders entrust you as an investor with sort of a part of their company and a part of their story, it's very important that you, in my view, that you manage that well. The investor-investee relationship is one of trust, and if you invest the way we invest, where we roll up our sleeves and sort of become the proverbial third co-founder, then you're sharing the cries and agonies of the founders and also their high points, right? So it's a privilege. It's great responsibility, and I think it also sort of gives an opportunity to really be a part of this redefining of the future of the continent that we're all eager to see. So yeah, it's a mixed bag, but mostly good.
So speak to people who perhaps have never heard of your organization and tell me a little bit about how it came to be and your focus in investment terms.
Sure. So essentially we're a seed stage fund and we also operate an accelerator program.
Are you genre specific?
We're sector agnostic. We are focused. We're excited about certain themes. For instance, the youth bulge in Africa, the gaps in infrastructure, logistics and delivery, mobile penetration. So we're excited about businesses that are sort of leveraging these challenges as opportunities. Those are the kinds of businesses where we focus on. We're also very keen on businesses and founders that have a pan-African view, because we think the real opportunity for building large businesses in Africa lies in being able to sell across borders and sort of transact and exchange value across the borders around the continent.
I'll ask you to pause there because you have that in common with some of the other investors I've spoken to so far, and that's perhaps an oversimplified proposition. This idea that, if you have a good idea that works really well in a certain market, it should and could work elsewhere. And I think you're absolutely right, but give me a sense of what sides of actually sort of executing on that might be oversimplified typically.
Well, I think there are two things, right, that would enable this to be possible. The first thing is realizing that if you have if you found a problem solution fit and then gone on to find a product market fit in one country, when you start to think about scaling to another country, then you start to think about domestication. What aspects of this customer product relationship do we need to tweak a bit to work in this new market? But you can't also do that in a vacuum, right? And this has to do with how African entrepreneurs hire talent. Like if you're building for Africa, then you have to hire for Africa. So if I was a startup in Nigeria, for instance, and I was looking to expand or scale to Ghana, for instance, I would be looking to hire the smartest person that has Ghanaian context or that spent time in Ghana and have them work in my operation in Nigeria for some time, so they gain context and they understand the culture. And then it's almost like, when we're ready to expand to that new market, it's like sending out John the Baptist, quote unquote. So I think, we can't oversimplify it, but, when you look at companies like Taxify, for instance, Taxify hadn't raised a ton of capital from Estonia before they were already in several countries, including African countries. That is possible. African founders can be bold, we can be aggressive, and we can think maybe not globally immediately, but we can think Pan-African.
Taxify is a really good example of a company that certainly didn't have it all figured out when they decided to expand. I mean, as a user of their service, alongside all the other competitors, I can tell you that even to this day, they're still continuing to figure it out, and perhaps aren't even where, from an even user experience standpoint, others are. But to your point, we can't wait till we're all there, right?
This philosophy that it has to be perfect in one market before we branch out to another market, I think it's playing it a bit too safe, right? And it goes against the grain of what a startup is. At the end of the day, we're hacking it, and every new market is an MVP, and you sort of you go around that cycle again. Even Uber, right? Uber came to Nigeria and it wasn't perfect, right? So I think that that's really important. But back to the earlier question you asked. So essentially, our investment philosophy is that we invest through those two vehicles I described: our seed investments and the acceleration program. We've done 2 batches already, and it's been exciting to see the progress the companies have made. Our program is primarily focused on 3 things. One, we work with the founders to gain product market fit. We support the acceleration of the attraction, and we help them raise follow-on capital.
What sort of amounts are you looking at in terms of capital? What sort of amounts are you willing to commit, and on what sort of terms? Do you only come in with partnerships, or do you like to come in super early? Give me a sense.
So for the companies we accelerate, typically we're the first money in. So we come in with a pretty standard check size, and we're the first money in, and the companies then at the end of the program typically look to raise anywhere. So typically are looking to raise a pre-Series A round, anywhere between 100 to 500K. We've seen companies from our program go on to 500 startups, for instance.
You see yourself sort of as a feeder in this sense?
Yeah, to some extent, we're happy to see some of our companies go on to those types of accelerators. I mean, at the end of the day, the environment for capital, follow-on capital between $100 and $1 million in sub-Saharan Africa is still very fragile, right? Still sort of fragmented, and to be honest, it's fraught. I mean, to put it very plainly, right? Everyone's sort of waiting for Series A, or you have angels in this end, and you have the guys that want to write the $1 million checks and upwards. There's not a lot of activity at that mid-range, and so accelerators that sort of come in at that point help. But I'm sure that we will continue to see progress in terms of funding activity across the value chain, and I think everyone's going to be better for it.
I'm sensing a sort of unprecedented level of competition in this space. Speaking to you, other investors, is this a space race? Is there a lot of collaboration going on behind the scenes? Give me a sense of like what the competitive climate is like.
There's in every market, there's only so many great companies, right? You're going to have a lot of noise and very little signal. And so I guess every fund, early stage fund or accelerator is hoping that they find that great company. And with what's happened, I mean, I can speak for the Nigerian ecosystem, for instance, with what's happened over the last 2-3 years, everyone is sort of woken up and everyone's sort of on the hunt for that next big company, right?
You mean like because of Andile?
Well, as an example, Andile,
Paystack maybe.
Paystack, Flutterwave. Paystack's one of our portfolio companies, so we're super excited what they're doing, for instance. But I guess, people are now rather than wait for companies to inbound, are now actively recruiting, going out of their comfort zone to attend events and talk to founders and that stuff that we've been doing. We started with a tour, of going to campuses and hubs, just talking to founders that may not be ready, that may not be investment ready today, but we want to know what they're doing, so we can keep in touch with them. So I think from that standpoint, there's probably some competition to attract the best founders.
Is there some imprudent behavior that you're observing as a result of this?
No, mostly. I mean, my experience with my colleagues in the industry has been mostly positive, and I think look, we have a responsibility to collaborate and share our learnings, especially. because no one's going to come and build this ecosystem for us, right? We have to. And I mean, if you look a lot at what happened in San Francisco, for instance, there was a lot of collaboration. It was an open society where people shared ideas, people shared experiences, and I think if we build walls and are overly competitive, we will be going about it the wrong way. So yeah, I'm a proponent for collaboration and sharing.
And so how are you going about closing the insight gaps in your experience, or even the blind spots you might have? On this show, we make a lot of the gaps in insight and in knowledge that, outsiders tend to gloss over or really just underappreciate in approaching our markets and trying to participate meaningfully. How do you go about making sure you're not, making the same mistake as a homegrown organization?
Well, I think first off, the attitude to the companies we invest needs to be one of respect, and I personally consider it a privilege to have an opportunity to invest in a company. And I think staying humble and realizing that unlike what your typical African context is, that when you invest in a company, you're not doing the founders a favor, right? They're probably doing you a favor, right? So I think just staying humble and having a place for respect in the investor-investee relationship is key. I think also realizing that there's a lot of randomness in investing, right? We typically think we can control things and predict outcomes. Half the time we can't, and so that's another reason to stay humble and just be a learner forever, right? Just learn, just be humble, and I guess the third thing I would say is just remaining a startup yourself. At Ventures, we like to say we're a startup that supports startups, right? We're constantly rethinking our philosophy. Our true north is very clear. We want to be the first money in supporting the grittiest founders that have bold ideas that are Pan-African, right? But the approach, so we're stubborn with the vision, but very flexible with our approach, And I guess lastly, what I would add is, I guess in our investment practice, over the last 2 years or so, every time we have wavered from our funnel and our investment criteria, we have ended up sort of regretting it. It's ended up being a bad decision, right? That's not been, knock on wood so far, that's not been too many times.
So what, are you realizing the need to have that sort of legendary Warren Buffett discipline or commitment to thesis?
Yeah, absolute 100% commitment to thesis. No sentiment, no compromise. That's been one of the biggest lessons for me over the past 2 years. It's just been. We have a very clear thesis. We have a checklist. I know that I have my set of 5 questions I would ask before I consider an investment, and just staying true to that every single time is important.
Perhaps finally, give me a sense of what you're most worried about or most concerned about. A recurrent niggling issue you're seeing in the development of founding talent.
I would diverge a bit from your question. So there are 3 things that worry me in general about the ecosystem and the investment climate. So the first thing is ambition, and this is on the founder side. I think it'll be nice if our founders just raise the bar of ambition a little more. And this sort of has to do with what I said earlier about seeing Africa as the market. Yeah, I know there's difficulties with trade across countries. There's issues around policy and whatnot. But this is what technology is designed to solve. With cryptocurrency now, there's all sorts of opportunities to sort of
overcome?
Estimate the divide that we have as a consequence of the governance across the continent, right? So I think the level of ambition just has to be scaled up, right? I mean, in Africa, we're now having this debate around, should we be so fascinated with unicorns, or should we just accept gazelles? That's the new thing, right? Why can't we have unicorns in Africa? I mean, I get it. I mean, I'm not
naive.
I'm not naive, or I'm not infatuated with unicorns or anything, but why can't we have them? I think our founders can be a lot more ambitious. The second thing that worries me a bit is, so it's great that we have all this foreign, non-Nigerian or non-African capital coming into our countries, but my worry is that if you take one company, for instance, and all their major capital has been foreign, it also typically probably translates that the significant voices on the board of that company are very unlikely to be African. And my worry with that is, what context do they bring to these supposedly African companies? And without the right context at the board level, you're very unlikely to have large sustainable companies, right? And so I worry that we may not be, while we're attracting more capital, we need to be mindful of that. And that doesn't mean we stop taking capital from, I'm the last person to say that. I mean, we have LPs in our fund that are non-African, right? But I think that there needs to be a sense of urgency in institutions, our corporates and our HNIs around the continent to get in the ring of play at a higher level. So that we can support our own, and we can ensure that these companies are backed by African capital. Again, I don't want to be misconstrued. I am not suggesting that foreign capital is bad or anything of that nature. I'm just saying, I think when you look at the board of the top startups in Africa, you should have African representation.
And not just because it's the right thing to do and it looks good, the optics are right, and it keeps those of us who are, watchdogs for this kind of thing, like, quiet, but because it's actually good for business.
It's good for business. I mean, you need local context, right, at the highest levels of any business. And so I think this is important. And even if, some companies have been smart enough to then just appoint board members or senior leadership that is, that is African or that has local context. So that's fine, right? But I would love to see more African participation in the funding of startups around the continent. I was going to say one more thing, but I realized my second point might be viewed as a controversial one, so I'll leave it at that.
No, don't, please. What do you have on your heart, man? Just, tell us.
Well, I guess, again, just in more local context, for me it's great to see what's going on in the ecosystem, but, I guess we cannot be biased to founders that have schooled in MIT or that have that diasporan or don't look like you and I. I think that
In case in case you're wondering what we look like, we're both pretty black. Yeah.
Well, I think we just need more, representation and more women, and the onus is not just on the investors, it's also on us, right, to just up the ante. We have to raise the bar of excellence. We have to raise the bar of discipline, right? And so at the earliest stage, when we talk to founders of ventures, we're talking to them about how email ethics, work discipline, how to construct how to respond to an introductory email that we do. These are the disciplines that you need to punch at the right weight class, right? And so we the onus is on us as founders, as entrepreneurs, as investors to develop the quality of talent in our ecosystem.
So, Kola, one last thing, before you go, tell me where you're at in terms of, inviting applications. Who are you looking for? Do you want people to get in touch with you? Is it a we'll call you, we'll find you if you're good enough? What's the situation?
No, we're currently taking applications for our third batch, and
how well did the first two go?
pretty well. A couple of our companies have, a number of them have raised closed their follow-on rounds. One of our companies, like I mentioned, went on to 500 startups. They're all sort of doing well, and we're really happy to see their progress. But we're now taking applications for the third batch. And so if you're interested, just visit our website, www.venturesplatform, ventures is with an S.com, venturesplatform.com, and just fill out the application form. It's pretty straightforward. We'll get back to you. Our applications are open to companies across the continent, not just Nigeria. We just invested in a company in Cameroon called Viva, and they're now expanding their market in Nigeria. So yeah, would love to hear from you.
You heard the man. Send that application form in. Cheers, man. Thank you so much, Kola.
Thanks for having me, man. It was nice talking. Yeah, cheers.